Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the last episode of Hardcore Heroes. So, where did we leave off?
We're just about to head out of Dawngate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you head out of Dawngate with your...
Yeah, we were given instructions to find like a guide.
Yes, you find a halfling guide. His name is Ferguson.
Okay.
He's a pudgy little fella, happy, joyful,
Does he look
smile.
Does he look like he knows his way around a fight?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not. He's got really soft, pudgy hands, a big belly. He's kind of got that baby fat on his legs where they kind of look like balloons stuck together. But he's an adorable fellow. He's got a happy attitude. He's got a little what do you call it? What's the handheld accordion that's really small? It starts with a C. Called.
I don't know.
I'm lost.
Oh, Concertina.
Yes, a concertina.
Okay.
He's got a concertina with him, and he plays and sings as you guys walk.
How
Okay.
pleasant.
I think at one point Val will be like, I'm surprised. I was led to believe that the way south is quite dangerous. I'm surprised
Quite certainly indeed.
and you're willing to brave it.
Well,
I would have imagined only a seasoned fighter would have risked running into ogres or other sorts of monsters.
he stops and the whole journey and looks at you. And goes, well, to be honest, you look like you can handle an ogre, and if you can't, well, I know all the places to hide, and you won't fit. So I'm not too worried about myself, just about you guys. But you know
Fair
the
point.
dangers, so
I suppose.
good luck.
I suppose that's a fair point. I hear halflings are quite adept at matters of stealth. Quite good at not being seen when they don't want to.
Kind of deadpans you. Way to embrace the racial stereotypes, buddy. Bigoted
I don't mean to speak out of turn. I say it like shout back in halfling.
No, that's right. Yeah, all we halflings. We're just thieves and rogues going around stealing shit and hiding. I know the stereotype. I was just hoping a intelligent, educated man like yourself would be above that, but I see that we're not quite there yet.
I didn't mean. I wasn't implying.
No, it's fine.
thievery.
It's fine. You
I
come from
meant
an area
because
without
you're-
halflings. I understand.
I meant
you don't
because
know.
you're rather small in stature. You can fit into many hiding places that larger people can't.
I think we all know what you meant.
Is this in Halfling though? This chart.
Probably.
I meant the racial ability in basic D&D that says halflings have a 5 and 6% or a 5 and 6 chance of not being spotted if they stand still. Okay, I wasn't being racist.
So, how long does this journey take, Frederick? Sorry, what did you say your name was?
Oh, he's already forgotten my name. Typical giants.
Ferguson.
Ferguson.
Thank
Alright.
you.
Chill out, Ferguson.
Goes back to playing his concertina. There are no encounters along the way. You make it up the Night River, through the Laconish Highlands, to a very small little village at the... not quite at the mouth of the Heart River, but near the top of it. Where you can book passage on a large raft. This is where Ferguson leaves you, and he heads back to Dawngate while you guys take this raft down the Heart River to Honey Reach, which is such a sweet little town. It's like 95% halflings. There are a few humans cruising about. There's one tavern that is sized for humans as well. There's like a side door that is human-sized, and maybe like a 20% of the building that has a taller roof and some bigger tables and chairs.
That's cool.
So you're pretty much cordoned off to this one section of town.
Okay.
There are a few other travelers here, and they give you a look of welcome relief as somebody not halfling-sized shows up.
I think I want to speak to one of the halflings in town and ask, we're quite close to Drex's borders. How does Mistrea get along with its neighbor?
Well, I'm from Drekis, and I gotta say, tensions have been lax. Ever since Mistrea fell under control of that damn dragon there, they've kind of sucked at everything.
Huh.
Yep.
How do you mean sucked?
Well, most of their wealth goes to paying fees. The dragon
All right.
demands a certain amount of gold every year, and so the wealth of the nation spent fattening up the dragon. That means, they haven't been putting much pressure politically or militarily on anyone, and they're slowly collapsing like a flan in the cupboard.
And then the dragon will just leech off someone else.
Probably not. Dragon will just stick around forever until it conquers the world or until a great hero arises to destroy it. The damn shame Desmond's retired.
And claim that massive mountain of gold that the dragon's likely stacked up at this point. I imagine the dragon will last for a while, but not for lack of trying.
Tell me about it. You guys look like just the sort of heroes that might go fight a dragon. Why aren't you doing it?
We have other business at the moment. That's many years in the future. Fighting dragons isn't really something that you take lightly.
Oh. If I'd wanted to fight a dragon, I would have stayed at home.
That's true. I heard about your run-in with the shadow dragon, Malachi.
Yeah, that wasn't a comment on my wife.
I never thought it would be.
I hope
the
not.
married type. So what's your interest with Drekis?
Oh, we were traveling in that direction.
Why for?
Eridon's fucked up. There's no point in staying there anymore.
What do you mean?
Did you not hear that demons have been swarming across Eridon, leveling entire towns?
He gives you an unlikely look. Uh-huh. Really?
Head up to Dawngate. You'll likely hear plenty about it there.
Well, that's where I'm headed. Making
right.
my way to Stromheim eventually. Demons,
I'd be very,
you say?
very careful on the road. It's I'll go into describing a little bit of them. I leave out the shadow plane and some of the more really tall tales, but I talk about how there's demons leveling entire towns. How there's a bull demon who can turn people to stone with its breath.
Give me a charisma check, please.
All right.
Ooh! All right. He believes your story in full. And decides to change his course. He's not going to Dawngate. He's not going to Stromheim. He's headed back to Drekis to.
Good call.
let
Perhaps
people
you want
know.
to. Would you like to split the road with us?
Sounds great. I could excuse me, use some company.
Yeah, we could use a guide. I've never been to Drekis before myself.
Good country, great open forests, wonderful wildlife. I personally prefer the western Drekis.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Ridge is where I'm from originally. Whalers Bay, if you've ever heard of it.
Whalers Bay. Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that on the map the other day.
Quiet?
Yeah.
No. A lot of dwarves, and those fuckers are loud.
What kind of town should we look for, Von? Oh, dwarves.
One without so many dwarves.
Wait, did you say you don't even know where you're going?
No, that's why I was hoping you could guide us.
Drekis
was a bit of a last-minute decision. Originally, we thought Akuba, but that seemed like far too much work.
No, don't go fucking Akuba. Do you guys know about what Akuba did to us on Drekis?
We know nothing.
Let me tell you the tale.
All right.
It was the year something, and he begins to tell you the story about how Drekis and Akuba used to be somewhat allies, and then they launched this surprise attack that overran one of Drekis's towns. But not only that, the draconian town actually capitulated and gave in, and kind of ended up being a semi-capital here for the invading Akuban army, and they swept across half of Drekis. Until they overstretched their supply lines and Drekis got their shit together, and a big nasty war that has since bitterly divided the two kingdoms. They have a terrible relationship. It's like the United States and Russia during the Cold War. So
sounds like a fool decision to invade a kingdom you're not strong enough to overtake in full.
Well, fucking Akubans, they can't be trusted. Their language sounds like a series of duck quacks, if you believe it. And
that was part of the reason we chose Drekis. We didn't want to have to learn a whole new language.
Fucking Akuban, man.
Do they not speak common?
Some of them, but they don't speak it very well. They sound like a drunk duck. Waka waka waka.
Perhaps we made the right call with Drekis after all.
Yeah.
You said there were lots of dwarves in Whalers Bay.
Mostly Krublin and Kronwick, but the whole Iron Ridge, heavy dwarven population.
Perhaps not the best place for you, Malachi.
Yeah, let's avoid the dwarfs. Where else do you recommend? Somewhere maybe a bit. I don't know. You looking for a bustling town, Van? you want to?
No elves for me.
The,
There's no you don't have a large elf population in Drekis, do you?
Not a single one.
Excellent.
Do you know
It sounds
anything
like my
about
kind of country.
any temples maybe that need a new head cleric? My friend here, looking for a job.
I don't mean to overstate my status, but I am quite an experienced cleric. I've seen my fair share of travels.
Well, I can't pretend I know everything about every town. I guess this is probably while you guys are on the road now. Like maybe the next day you guys are having this discussion while traveling. I guess the real question is, do you want to live in a forest, or do you want to, you know, see this open sky all the time?
You know, I quite like forests myself, but I'm not sure about Malachi.
Maybe, you guys know the legend of Desmond the Dashing, greatest hero to ever cross into Arcadia?
Can't say that I have.
Well, he's the sort of fellow that might take down that dragon in Matava, except he's retired, so... He killed the black dragon once in the Deepwood Swamp.
Impressive. I hear red dragons can be quite a bit more nasty than their black cousins, though.
Well, yeah, that certainly is true.
Still though, a fine task.
Sure, slaying any dragon is a feat worthy of song.
Well, he lives in Berkshire, if you want to go associate with him. He's the sort of heroic type that you might get along with.
Another Tyrus Bellows, you say?
Yeah, I think I like to be a big fish in a small pond rather than the alternative.
It's true.
Pernissus, then. Harder to get a smaller pond than Pernissus, or Rencor. Either one.
I don't think too small of a pond is necessary. We're not exactly.
What's
I think we can handle a
like?
pond, not necessarily a puddle, is what we're looking for.
I like living by the coast though. Bontheris, is that nice this time of year?
It's alright.
We could
Not
get
a bad
boat down
place.
from Old Verdan, right?
Easy.
Explore those mountains.
What about Hirschwick? That's also on the coast.
Let me tell you something about Drekis here. If it begins or ends in a wick, it's a county capital. Except for Outlast. That's also a county capital. They used to be called Tulwick until the Akubans came in. Then they, you know, that's when the people in Tulwick. No. They were forced to take the name change after the war. It's a sign of their shame. Yeah.
I see.
Does Bontheris trade with Newfort and the rest of Aradon?
Ready trading port.
I think maybe we should go to Bontheris Fund, and if things were to settle down in the future, maybe we could
Sell back?
Newfort. Yeah.
Sure. That doesn't sound too bad.
We can go and see the Lord there. Maybe he's looking for a wizard or a priest. See if
Doesn't sound like a bad idea. Do you know much about Bontheris?
Well, I guess it is kind of a small pond, after all.
Yep. It won't be after we move in, though.
A nice walled town.
You know, I think walls is what led to Shirebrook's doom, Malachi.
Their walls led to their doom?
No, there were no walls. I think that's what did it.
That'll do it, man.
Didn't help.
Yeah. Though Bontheris is good. It's a little remote, you know, hard to get to. You gotta go by boat, or you gotta cross the Green Ridge, and, you know, there's a lot of hobgoblins and ogres in the Green Ridge. Difficult territory. Bontheris also has a large goblin problem to the south. It's kind of a nasty place. A lot of monsters cruising around that area.
We are quite adept at killing goblins.
That sounds like somewhere where we could be of help.
Well, if you think you could want to go murder all sorts of goblins and hobgoblins and ogres, Bontheris might be your place to go. Swarming with monsters are the hills and forests around them. But,
we went there, we helped clear some stuff out, we might be able to win some favor with the local lord.
That's true.
Ourselves up nice.
Yes, if we farm a few thousand monsters, I might eventually hit level 9.
Yeah, I think that sounds reasonable.
Sure, I'd say either that Kershwick is also an option because that's so close to everything else. We could easily head out into eastern Drekis or over to Wickthro. How do you pronounce your capital's name?
Wickthrun Rarenta. Wickthrun Rarenta. Yeah.
Okay.
Wickthrun Rarenta.
It has the same cadence as Constantinople, a mythical city from another land. You ever played Humans and Houses?
Yeah, I played that once. That was good. Yeah, well, I mean, my vote's for Bontheris. I think it's got the monsters, it's a smaller pond, and we can head back to Newfort or Shirebrook if we were to ever need to. It would be... We still don't know.
Sure. I have no complaints with Bontheris.
Marvelous. Well then, my halfling friend will accompany you to Old Vodan.
I think this guy's a human.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, marvelous. Okay.
Alright. He leads you through East Vodan to Old Vodan, telling you the history of the area along the way. A long time ago, there was a Voldonian empire that was kind of sprouted around this open plainsland, at least until the world split apart and Doom came to Arcadia, and then Vodan kind of went by the wayside as Drekis rose and Matava rose. Mistrea rose. So Old Vodan's the old capital of this long-lost empire. It's a very old city. It's the oldest place that you've been to. It's even, the stonework is all ancient. Looks like the new constructions are all made out of wood. The population's fairly low considering the size and, I want to say, wealth of the city, but like wealth of architecture and wealth of stability more than economic wealth.
Grandeur.
Yeah, that's the right word. The grandeur of the city. It's like if you were visiting Rome in the medieval period, sort of thing.
Okay.
Then he bids his farewell. He says he's going to take a trip to Ralwick, then down to Kershwick, and then over to Wickthrun Rarenta. And you guys can take a boat down the River Vodan to Bontheris. Be there in 2 days. Not even 2 days. Be there in a day.
Has Jeeves and Fanny sort of started holding hands yet, or?
Jeeves is 70-something and Fanny's in her 40s.
Oh, right.
So, no, that's not a thing that's happening right now.
Okay. How long are we sailing per day? Basically, just in case, because I have very bad experience with sailing on rivers now. And I think my water breathing lasts for 8 hours, and I can cast it on multiple people.
Well, it's going to be like 20-something hours on a boat, so you're going to need at least 3 castings of it to get through, maybe 4.
Okay, that's fine. I can do that. So I'm going to burn Wind Servant, because I don't think we're going to need Cloud Kill.
Hopefully not.
Alright, so I take water breathing times 3, and I guess if I have water breathing and free action, I don't really need water walk, so I'll take tree. I'll just go and post my spells in chat really fast. I need one more. I'll just do a 3rd cure moderate wounds that I have 5 there. Alright, so here are my spells, just in case there's a random encounter. But yeah, I'm gonna take a bunch of water breathing. Oh, that's Twitch chat. Alright, so I take a bunch of water breathing spells and I just cast it on. Let me see how many people I can cast it on here. G spells. Water breathing, an hour per level. Oh, it's 1 creature, so I guess I just cast it on myself.
Yeah, we'll be alright.
Water walking is the one that has an AoE. Yeah, so I just put water breathing on myself, because last time I just chilled on a boat for a while. You flipped it over with lizard men, and I almost drowned.
Yep.
So is it all we just do 20 hours straight on a boat, or is it like the boat docks at night?
It stops at a few villages along the way, and so it spends 1 night docked at a village, and then the next... Again, yeah, so I guess you don't need
3 so I can do it
once.
like 2, yeah. So I'll take 2, and then I'll keep water walking as well, along with tree.
As we're going down the river one day, I'll take a deep breath, breathe in the air, and say, it's actually quite nice to not be worrying about Shirebrook or Stromheim or...
It's a bit liberating.
It's just nice and it's like the good old days. We're just traveling around, not to worry about masters of our own fortune. And this was a good decision.
I agree. Oh man, those... I remember we had those thoughts of we can just banish Malchus back to wherever he once came, but
well, Whether he did it on purpose or not, Gale kind of ensured that Marcus got his way.
That's true. I suppose we lost this one. Perhaps we were a bit arrogant, thinking we could best a deity.
Well, we never really had much of a choice. I mean,
That's true.
this thing was going on around us. I'm not really sure if we were ever really in a position to stop it. Those, yeah. Who cares anyway?
Drekka seems nice, a bit more stable. I bet we could exert some influence in this place.
I'm sure before long there'll be all sorts of troubles in Drakus. Nothing to do with those, I'm sure, but
Absolutely nothing at all.
we do seem to have trouble following us around.
Do you know of any towns near Bon Theris that might have a scimitar ready to be stolen?
No one on your boat knows of any of that, of course. But it's a nice, pleasant journey down the river. Yeah, you go through this wonderful forested area. What is it? It's early winter. No, it's midwinter now, so the trees have all lost their leaves, and but there's no snow clinging to anything. It's just kind of a nice crispness, dryness to the air.
Mm-hmm.
The temperatures are cool, but not too cold. And you see some interesting things in the water, some crocodiles, a hippopotamus maybe. You're not sure. You've never seen one before, but someone tells you it's a hippo, so you believe it.
Okay.
And you pass a few villages, stopping off at every other one to deliver some supplies or let a person off the boat before making your way all the way down to the walled town of Bon Theris. It has as its access points the ocean, the river, and a road that comes over Green Ridge. You guys make it into what seems to be your new home.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of gold, and that was actually, I was going to suggest we just buy a house outright, Malachi.
Well, would you rather have our own place rather than live with the Lord?
I'm going to be honest, after years of doing it, I'm quite done with living in temples, and I'm not sure if we've, I feel like if we have our own property, we might be a little bit more like to be listened to by the nobility.
Yeah, alright.
They do prefer property owners.
Yeah.
Why don't we see if we can find some lord willing to sell us an estate? Maybe there's someone with a spare one going, we can offer him a good price, something like that.
Sure, perhaps we could even have one built.
Yeah, maybe we could rent for a while. Why don't we find the fanciest? Maybe there'll be a bar where some of the nobles drink, and we can.
Yeah, we can look into. Yeah, we'll start talking around and asking about buying property.
All right, let's get a room first, so we can drop off finding Jeeves and the wealth.
Yeah.
Sure. So you'll drop off Fanny and Jeeves at this room, and Malachi and Van Helsing set about to buying their sweet bachelor pad of a estate somewhere in Bon Theris. You want something within
with like
the town
decent
walls?
amount of land. Yeah, in town walls. We want like I assume when you said estate, you wanted like a decent amount of land to it, like not just a house on a lane, but like its own area.
Yeah. For experiments and stuff. And in an underground dungeon.
Also, plus then we'd have room to like expand it if you wanted to build a library or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's probably where we will leave our heroes, is going property shopping together in Bon Theris.
All right.
And I think that just about wraps up Hardcore Heroes. Just a little bit more of epilogue. Fanny goes off and eventually finds someone else and remarries. Lives happily ever after with this new person, at least unless you guys get involved and start making a mess of things.
No, I was just gonna say. I think Nick was expecting Jeeves and her to have something going.
They don't. It never happens between them.
It's a shame.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Jeeves goes into retirement, realizes he doesn't really have anywhere to go, and decides to retire as your butler for your estate.
All right.
So
Chief of
semi-retirement, chief of staff, maybe, yeah. And
maybe we can build a horse racing track around the city.
Ooh, yeah.
Invest
We
a lot of
could look into investigating. Ooh, that could be like a business. We run it. That's how we make money.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Chief. Yeah.
Maybe. And that's about it. Do you have any thoughts of epilogue for your characters? I know might not be the last time we've run into you.
Yeah, I want this to be like, I guess, a hiatus or a break, not so much the end of the... Because I don't think Van would retire from adventuring.
No.
Right.
Like, I think he's a little more open to planting his roots and getting, like, a house and stuff like that, but let's pass on the whole... He wouldn't hang up the sword.
This is an indefinite hiatus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will hopefully come back to these characters one time in the future, but for now, as you're putting down your roots and buying up some territory, what are your plans for going forward?
One thing from when we come back, Van wants to look into some information on this dragon living in Dragon Peak, and the potential for killing that red dragon and liberating Estrella. But I think he wants to, like, sort of subtly, like, he doesn't go, hey, I'm going to kill that red dragon. He just kind of, like, wants to kind of quietly put some feelers out. Like, maybe he pays somebody to get him information.
Yeah.
Kind of keep it a little bit more discreet.
Looking into dragons and their things.
Yeah.
So that's fair. What about you, Malachi? What are you interested in doing?
I'm going to start building up a library, stuff like that. I want to help out with problems around the town. So, like, convince Van to help me go and slay some monsters for the Lord. Stuff like that. Build a trust up of the Lord and maybe get a way to sort of being able to speak into his ear, become a trusted advisor, sort of working routes around this town, gaining personal power. I mean, it's hard to say what I'll do without knowing what actually happens, because I think Malachi's very emotionally driven sometimes by events. So if he gets betrayed by someone, that could...
that person could be exploded by like 10 magic missiles.
But yeah.
Well, that is it for Hardcore Heroes, but it's time to talk about where this is going, because this is not it for this team. I have been throughout the week teasing this new thing that we've been calling Project F, and that is going to be a new campaign that we're going to run. The cast will be those present here, Sean and Nick, as well as our old friend Greg, actually, and Georg as Ryan, but not as Georg. So we'll have Sean, Nick, Ryan, and Greg for the new cast of a new show called Project F. It is going to be an Arctic exploration. We're still working on the name. I was hoping to have it released right now, but we haven't quite decided on it. I think we're working between the Frozen Frontier and the Caledonian Expedition, or the Caledonian Frontier, or something like that. And that's going to be our new show. It'll probably start in a couple of weeks. We still need to flesh out some things for it before we can make characters and launch that. So stick around. It's going to be pretty sweet.
It's going to be good. Yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, same. I think part of it was having like plans going forward, because I didn't want to retire Hardcore Heroes on the prospect of like I enjoyed being on the show, but I think having like plans for another fun campaign going forward was definitely a big. I'm excited for what's coming forward. That's why I was willing to put this on hiatus.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think we should probably do maybe a little bit of Q&A. Does anyone in chat have any questions for our surviving heroes who have made it
40 episodes?
40 episodes.
Wow. More than that if you count the other side.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
40 something.
I think this is your longest not dicing with death campaign.
Yeah.
Because I know the original roleplay ended on 39. That was where they all died.
Did it really?
Yeah, it was
That's
episode 39.
Only 39?
39
really?
weeks.
Those guys suck.
What level were they? They weren't level 9, were they? They were level 7.
I don't remember.
I don't know. Yeah.
Zanzel had polymorph other, so I think that was level 7.
Oh, that was Solemn. That went much longer.
Yeah.
That got to 35. So I guess if you include Solemn, that was about 70 something weeks.
Oh.
Yeah, it doesn't count though. It's two different things.
Yeah.
So let's do some questions from chat. Is Van gonna save Georg?
So I talked to Neal about that. I had a plan for this session, but in the interest of actually having this be the last episode, I was advised against it, that it would not end well for either Georg or me. I was going to ask the Gold Dragon. I was going to offer him both the King and Queen's crowns if it cast Stone to Flesh on Georg and brought him back to life. I do want to look into that as a long-term thing. If we can find a high-level wizard to do that, I did promise to like return a favor to Georg. So if we can turn him back to flesh.
Well, you also promised to return with food and supplies for the people stuck on the Shadow Realm.
Yeah,
so.
but like,
Mother release.
Yeah, it was like Van. Yeah, I mean, we did try, and then Georg died, so there wasn't much we could do about it.
Which NPC does Malachi and Van miss the most? Malachi?
Miss the most?
Yeah, which NPCs do you miss?
Oh, that's easy. Wolf and Bear.
Ooh. John?
Oh, that's for both of us?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Darth.
Oh yeah, Darth. I'm actually gonna go with Darth myself. Yeah. I liked him a lot, and I was kind of sad when he left the party.
That moment when I was outside the werewolf cave, and Darth had agreed to go in and try and get the spellbook. I so thought he was going to be dead, but when he actually came back and he'd got it, that was.
I don't know very many instances of like somebody telling an NPC to do a quest for them and the NPC successfully doing the quest.
Yeah,
like I like Darth a lot. I do actually miss him as a character.
All right. Let's see. Will Malachi take the huge shortcut of trying to steal Georg's library? It's a risky one.
I'd have to go back for it, wouldn't I? I did think about his spellbooks. Were his spellbooks still in Misty Rapids Keep, or
his spellbooks were in his deep pockets?
Yeah, so that's all lost.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know where his library is. I also know where that library outside the Griffin's Tower thing was as well. So I know where books are if I need them. But I'm kind of hoping that there'll be some wizard in town in Bontheris that I can usurp, take his tower. Take his library. Maybe gets visited by a troll, who knows?
Another question for Van Helsing. Are you ever going to go back and try and resurrect Kine?
Can we even make it back there? Like that's pretty deep into the shadow plane. I think he's probably been eaten as well at this point. Like I think Kine might be a lost cause, unfortunately. Georg might be if we wait too long on it. So that is actually something we could talk after the show, is whether or not, because if we can find like a high level wizard willing to do it for some fat loot, Van might offer them the crowns.
That'll have to be a storyline for another day.
Yeah.
Let's see. Will Malachi and Van try and get another rhyming gnome companion?
I don't think so.
No.
Didn't work out that well for Lost on it.
Yeah, I think the humans in our groups tend to do the best out of everyone.
Yeah.
All the demi-humans die off in like a couple sessions. Like we lost the gnome and the dwarf really quick.
Real fast.
There was that elf wizard in Redport.
Yeah, but he didn't join us.
No, but I quite like an elf wizard to be quite cool to know because they've been around for ages.
It's true.
They know good things.
Will Van ever find out that Malachi is really evil?
Ooh.
That's a good question. I feel like if Van starts if Malachi starts summoning armies of undead, Van's gonna have to start dispelling armies of undead. But I actually don't know. Like, I think in the entirety of Hardcore Heroes, I cast Detect Evil once, and that was to see if people were like if the demons that were possessing people radiated evil. So maybe not, as long as he doesn't do anything too crazy. I don't cast No Alignment very often.
I kind of feel like when I said that bit before about being on the river and the pressures of being an Eridon being gone, I think a lot of what was driving Malachi to doing worse and worse things was the outside pressure of events threatening to take away like power and wealth, and sort of feeling the world closing in around him, so he had to like break out massively. So I think maybe here's a bit like a fresh start. Maybe we can go back to how we were before, when I wasn't thinking about taking over the world and summoning armies of undead. But who knows, as time passes on and things get boring again, maybe head out into the woods.
Does Malachi continue to see visions of Aldrich?
Well, I like I said, I think trying to leave some of that behind me now, maybe. Maybe it goes away for a little while and then starts coming back. I think the visions of Aldrich are kind of representative of that line of thinking that you need to, like, no one else is going to do anything for you, and you don't know anything to anyone else, and you just need to take what you want.
So maybe,
to help anyone else.
so maybe a temporary piece from the visions of Aldrich until you get a little bit bored and they start coming back, and you see his face in the crowd, or a note in a ledger that's impossible and couldn't be there, or a puddle of water at the foot of your bed.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Let's see. Has Van or Malachi done anything that they regret?
There was that time when we stole Harvest Moon, and Van tossed like a coin out in the hall to lure away the cockatrice. I never really talked about it in game, but in character, I think Van kind of regrets doing that, because I think he kind of realizes that he got some innocent people killed by tossing that coin out. Because like stealing the scimitar was kind of just like, oh yeah, fuck these people. They don't need Harvest Moon more than I do. But when it kind of hit him that he got a few innocent guards killed by tossing that coin out in the hall, I think that probably was an action he regrets.
Yeah.
How about you, Malachi?
It's a tough one. I don't know if I really regret killing Aldrich. Definitely so. I think maybe I regret killing Tyrus a little bit. Now that, after what happened with Georg in the portal, like I know in out of game, I know that Ryan or Georg had nothing to do with it. But I think in game, if you look at it from Malachi's point of view, a lot of evidence sort of pointing against Georg, that this whole time he was kind of never really my friend, and kind of like even helping with the dragon. If his goal was to get me to go through the portal so he could leave it open, then it makes sense that he'd help kill the dragon. And then he lied about Malchus in the ridge, and he left the portal open. You know, he'd been there before, and yeah, he still did that. I feel like he should have known better. And then he's got this amulet that he's obviously something to do with Malchus that he's real cagey about telling me, especially when all of this is happening because of Malchus. And you know, he's rose to power so quickly. I think there's a lot of evidence pointing against him. So I think the decision to kill Tyrus when it came down to a confrontation between them two, maybe he chose the wrong side. But then again, Georg was probably going to win that fight, so probably chose the right side actually.
Did you ever stop being afraid of your character dying?
Only on an encounter by encounter basis. Like, I was never really. I remember going into like pretty much every single week being like, God damn, this could be the week where I die and I'm off the show. But I do know that like, I remember at one point we ran into some ogres, and I had like some flashbacks for a second about that time that we fought ogres and almost died. And I had like an ogre hit me for 18 damage with a spear he chucked from 200 yards away, and almost one-shot me. But then Malachi just fireballed them, and they all ran away. And it was like there were times where I wasn't very scared on an encounter basis, but I wouldn't say there was ever really a week that I went into without at least a little bit of concern about that.
There was definitely a shift at some point. I'm trying to think when it was, from being terrified of every single encounter to feeling like generally random encounters will probably be all right with.
I think it was probably after the Chimera battle, because we were pretty scared fighting that were-rat. You and Krob almost died. You both dropped to one during that fight.
That was really close.
And then the Chimera almost killed me. Like I would say probably a little bit after the Chimera battle, because we got some good XP off that. We started leveling pretty quick after that.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. There was that whole period when it was just me and you after Krob died. I think we got a lot more powerful during that period. That
was also like, I was really sad when Krob died, because he was kind of like the Van was like the de jure leader of the group, but Krob was kind of like the de facto leader. He was pulling all the strings. So I was a little concerned when he died, but I was really happy with where like the relationship between Van and Malachi went on a roleplay level.
Yeah, me too.
I would say Krok's death was probably one of the most influential moments of the campaign.
Yeah, I think it was like scary going into it, but it was like a really good way for that character to go, and also just did good things for the show in the long run.
A really good way for him to die, I thought. I think it made like loads of sense in terms of his character.
What was your favorite battle? Or the one that you enjoyed the most in some regard?
I always go back to thinking about the hobgoblin fight on that island when we landed on that island, and that giant like big hobgoblin woman walked out, and she had like the big club, and I remember just saying like, we're dead, it's over. And like it hit the guy, God, whoever that sailor was with us, and just crunched his skull in for like 11 damage. And she took a swing at me, and I was like, it's all over. It's the end. But I remember like the relief that just kind of like hit me when Neal was like, and it clatters off your shield that you like narrowly bring up in time. I was like, that was a really intense battle for me.
Yeah, that's where Corny died.
Good. Well, Corny had died at the end of the week
later.
Before. That was the start of the next week.
No, that was...
I mean, it was in the whole Hobgoblin Island thing.
Yeah, it was in that area, but I think he was alive, or he had already died for the fight with the big Hobgoblin lady.
Corny died in the forest when we were trying to set an ambush on the beach, and then after we attacked and the fight went bad, we ran to the beach, and they didn't follow us, so we set up camp there, and then they attacked us in the night. As we were waiting, Yeah, I remember you tried to cast Sanctuary to avoid the Hobgoblin killing you.
Yeah, which I misread that spell. What I was thinking was that I could like keep her attention, but she also wouldn't be able to attack me. But it didn't work because she passed her save, and it wouldn't have anyways because it says that if you pass, they just ignore your existence.
Yeah.
All right, I missed that.
Is there anything you wish you would have done during the campaign? Anything that you regret not doing? Or a direction you regret not taking, or maybe not regret, maybe that's too strong of a word.
Yeah, I've got one. I think giving the resurrection scroll to Joris, maybe we should have tried to resurrect Krob. At the time, it was too scary to try and go against Joris because he was such a high level wizard.
I might have tried to pull the wool over his eyes, but I got like the direct thing from Cheese that was like, sometimes the best thing you can do is to honor your agreements. And I think that was I was thinking like if Georg died from being turned back to flesh, Van would probably burn the raised dead since he did promise to resurrect, like to help return the favor for saving his life. That Van might have committed like a potentially heretical act in the interest of like honoring his agreement. But something that I regret not doing.
Yeah. Or direction you might have wanted to take your character that you didn't take. I think regret's too strong a word. Is there something you would have liked to have done that you didn't get a chance to do, or you missed your opportunity to do?
You go first, Nick.
Yeah, apart from the resurrection of Krob with the scroll, I would have liked to explore necromancy, but it just didn't make... Well, I only got it last episode, and it doesn't make sense right now to go around resurrecting skeletons. But I've got some experiments. I mean, I think I can go out into the woods, cast monster summoning, fireball them, and then cast animate dead on them. We can do that a few times, start getting a feel for how it works. But...
Yeah, I'd say my regret. I kind of wish we got into some more faction-based stuff. Because Van has some like weapons of mass destruction for spells when it comes to like large-scale stuff. Like he can't throw fireballs, but I can sink entire ships with some of my spells. Like I can cast lower water and just... It literally sucks a ship into a whirlpool. And I looked it up because it said putting them at risk, but didn't go into details. Whirlpools are really deadly for ships. And they'd be stuck in it for 70 minutes. Like that ship would probably sink. So I do kind of regret not getting into some of the... I think there were some really good warfare-based spells that I could have used that could have caused some pretty big destruction and also would have been really fun to see. And so I kind of regret not ever going down that path.
Having survived Hardcore Heroes all the way through and looking back on it from this end, how do you feel about the mechanic of players leaving the show when their character dies?
Please let it end. My heart can't take much more. It was a great idea for Hardcore Heroes, but goddamn, I don't know how much more that I can take. Like I think Hardcore Heroes was a great idea, and it was kind of swingy because it could have just ended with us all dying in the first session.
Yeah,
but I think it worked out really well. Like I think it was.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, I just think that the permadeath mechanic really fit this particular show really well.
I liked it, and because Malachi's a selfish character, I feel like the permadeath rule forces you as a player really to play your character extremely selfishly because you don't want to die. So it makes sense to be a selfish character. But I think if you're trying to be the hero, like, in game sometimes the hero's going to say like, you guys run, I'll hold back the monsters and I'll die here. But you're never really going to want to do that if you've got this permanent death mechanic because then you're off the show. So it's okay for Malachi, right? Because I just like, fuck them, I'll turn invisible and leave. I'm not going to die here. But like if you are trying to play the great hero, I think maybe it would go against that a little bit.
See, I actually like, because I tried to play Van Helsing as a fairly good person, but I think a mix of like opportunism and not wanting to be off the show kind of. I think Van was an imperfect good person, right? And I think that's always a really fun good person to play. Somebody who tries to do the right thing, but sometimes just doesn't do that because something got in the way, some sort of conflicting feeling won them over, and I enjoy playing characters like that.
What is each of your characters' best moment in the show?
A lot of them.
Yeah.
What are you most pleased with, or made proud by, or just your favorite aspect of your character?
It's not really about Malachi, but one of my favorite moments was when we were exploring that crypt. We were fighting those skeletons down below, and Jeeves and the dogs were up at the top of the crypt. And you started rolling dice and asking the HP of the dogs, and I realized that there was some sort of encounter going on. But then when we got up there, the dogs had just won the fight and killed all of the bandits before we had a chance to intervene. I really like that.
Armored dogs, man, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
That was great. I liked when Van and Malachi plotted out this whole heist to steal Harvest Moon, and we like sort of combined our spell pools together and started casting a lot of things in sync to try and make like a really dangerous duo. That
was good.
Yeah, I think clever use of spells is always fun to see. So watching a cleric and a wizard sort of put their heads together and come up with a plan of action to go through this thing.
Set in the same area, I liked the rescuing the princess.
Yeah.
I thought that whole scene of like cutting off her ear to prove to Carrick that I was serious about working with him, and then sort of hatching a plan quickly to rescue her that night. I thought that was quite good. I like that.
Oh, somebody said this in chat. This isn't one of our characters, but I thought Croak having that bag of flour that he carried around with him forever and just pulled out that one fight when the siren turned invisible on them was so fucking good.
That was improved invisibility as well, so that would have been
bad.
Probably game over. I don't know.
Yeah, you might have died there. Like, I don't know. Greg had a lot of moments like that where he just did something really clever.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to be playing with Greg again in
me too.
Whatever we're going to be calling this thing. Project F.
Maybe you should put the straw poll of names on.
Well, I mean, we've added a new couple names to that list, so...
I might actually, because I'll put up a discussion thread. I'll ask people for some of their ideas for names.
Yeah. And I think the last question before we just call it a day here is, at the end of the day, do you feel your character is a good person or a bad person? After everything's said and done, after all of your ups and downs, your fulfilled promises and your broken ones, the people you've saved and the people you've left to die, after everything.
I think Malachi's probably a bad person, but I think he thinks he's a good person.
I think Van, he's definitely not like a saint by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he's like extremely callous and can be very like rude to people. Like I remember Corny's father giving a shit for getting his son killed, and Van was like, maybe your son shouldn't have been such a fool and gotten himself impaled. But like I think Van can be very callous and very jaded toward the concept of death, but I think he tries to be a good person in the general sense.
I think Malachi benchmarks his morality against Van. So if he can convince Van that it's a good idea, then he's convinced himself that it's fine to do.
All right. Well, this
Wait.
has... Oh, yeah?
What about a question for you, Neal? What was your favorite moment?
I don't know.
Killing Greg.
I think my favorite moment is probably in the second episode. I think it was the second, maybe it was the third episode, when Aldrich was like, I need you guys to go get me a giant's hair. And you're all like, no, no, we're not doing that. That's too dangerous. Let's go find something else to do. And just like turned away, walked away from the entire quest and like went off and did your own thing. And I'm like, this is what I want. This is what I've been waiting for a party to turn down a quest lead because they can objectively determine it's too dangerous. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember that too. I like that a lot. Just
At the time I was like, no, there's just no way.
Yeah, because I remember, I think it was maybe it was Greg wanted to follow that lead, or maybe it was Bijan. But I remember somebody wanted to do it, and I was just like, I'm not going out there. I'm not fucking with a giant.
Well, it was only like one episode earlier that we were so nervous trying to fight like two peasants with one dagger.
Yeah, we spent like 20 minutes arguing about how to ambush some peasant and his wife on the road so nobody would be stabbed to death.
No, you go. You go. I'll watch the horses. I remember saying that. Like, I'll just Good times.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that wraps up Hardcore Heroes. It has been a year and a little more than 4 months, year and 5 months or so. It's been a blast. This has been one of my favorite campaigns to run. And I'm glad that we can close it in a peaceful way.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty excited. Like, I do definitely want to come back from that hiatus someday, because I'm pretty excited for... It's kind of like a new opening, like a new possibility. Us like going to Drekis and starting fresh with lots of gold. At 8th and 9th levels. Like,
how much does an estate cost to buy? Do you think?
I don't know, thousands, maybe tens of thousands of gold.
We'll figure it out.
We'll get there one day.
Yeah.
One day. All right. So we will see you guys on Project F, which could be called the Frozen Frontier or the Caledonian Expedition or the Exploration of Caledonia or some other name in a few weeks, maybe a month at most, but probably not quite that long. And until then, farewell.
Yep. And... discussion thread going up right now. Put some of your suggestions for a name in there, because we clearly need help.
It will not be called Ice Road Fuckers. Nick has been trying to push that name ever since we discussed this plan.
Everyone loves it. It's great.
It's a terrible name.
Okay, fair. I would love to roll characters now, but we can't. We'll wait.
We'll do that another time.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Say goodbye, Sean.
Oh, bye.